podcast that introduces you to registered, clinical, and certified aromatherapists around the world. Every other week, I sit down with an amazing human who happens to be an aromatherapist to learn about their aromatic journey and how they use essential oils in their lives and their businesses. Aromatic Chat is produced by Lemon Balm Coaching. If you or someone you know feels like you're being buried alive by the stress and overwhelm in your life, you'll want to reach out to Lemon Balm Coaching for your free discovery session. Transformational coaching for the business of life. I'm your host, Melissa, your holistic, transformational coach and registered aromatherapist. I would be thrilled if you would take just 1 minute to leave a review on Apple Podcast. It is so easy. Just click the link in the show notes and it'll take you right on over to Apple. All you have to do is click on reviews and leave your 5-star review. That makes it possible for other listeners to find the podcast and be inspired by these beautiful people. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Welcome to episode number 49, Aromatic Chat with Marni Reven. I know Marni because of the Alliance of International Aromatherapists, but honestly, I don't know much about what she's doing in the aromatic world. I cannot wait to get to know her a little better and for you to hear all that she is doing to move aromatherapy forward. So let's get started.
I was just actually writing down a couple of the names of the podcasts of yours that I've really enjoyed.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So anything you want to tell me?
The purpose of the podcast, like I said in my invitation, is to increase your footprint and for people to be able to find you. But this is also a chance for you to share your story, to share what's important to you, to share what's on your heart, because God created me a connector. So I want to connect people to you. I want people to be able to find you. And when they hear your story, they go, that's the person I want to work with. That's why I did the podcast, is to basically connect the people that I speak with to the listeners who might benefit from them.
Right. But you also know that I'm not going to talk a lot as a practitioner because I've just got a different flow going, and it just seems to be the flow of my aromatic career.
And that's perfect. That's perfect because for other aromatherapists who might be struggling and thinking, how do I do this? What do? I don't even know what to do. They might hear your story and go, oh, you mean I don't have to do what everybody else does? You mean I don't have to have a store and sell things?
I think sometimes we have a hard time focusing in on what it is that we are doing.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come on to Aromatic Chat. I appreciate it tremendously. I cannot wait to get to know you and for everybody who listens to get to know you.
How nice.
Because I really only know you from our Alliance of International Aromatherapists meetings. I think we met at the conference, the previous, not the last one, but the one before. I think we met in person, but it was just in passing. I'm really good with faces.
I don't remember meeting you there.
And that's okay.
No. I was hanging out with Shannon Becker. We were trying to do a little bit of research, reconnoitering. And I remember drinking probably too many of Laura's drinks. I would only drink one at a time, but I think I drank about 7. Like one at a time, like one sitting, because one is it for me, but They were really good drinks.
Yeah. I'm a one and done gal too.
Are you?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a one and done. That's it.
People are like, did you want something else? No, I do not. I know my body.
That's so funny. I don't meet many people like me.
One and done. I am a cheap date. My husband, he knows how good he has it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Because it's expensive.
It is.
Her drinks were expensive at that hotel.
Well, everything at that hotel was expensive, which is why I stayed at a La Quinta about 2 miles away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did. I'm that person at the conference.
Well, you're smart.
But otherwise, it's really just online at meetings that I see you. So I don't really know much about your aromatic journey. So this is your chance to tell everybody, like, how did you end up doing what you're doing in the aromatic world?
All right, let's get this party started. Okay. Well, first I have to thank you for having me on your podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're inspirational. So I think in the podcast world, I haven't listened to a lot of podcasts. There's a few that I like. I like leadership podcasts and I like a couple of others. But when I hit yours, it's like, this is so relaxed and so easygoing. And hearing stories about people that I kind of know, but I don't know well enough to be close to them. So hearing stories like Amanda Latin and her sidewalk thing, I just thought that was fascinating because I work with Amanda and we're all research, but she's got a whole nother side. And then Jen Eden Clark, absolutely loved her interview. I had no idea who she was. And I love the stand that she's taken to say, these are decent oils. What's your problem?
Right.
Because, that's foundational for me because this aromatic journey didn't start until 2014. So just, what is that, 7 short years ago? And my sister introducing me to doTERRA.
Mm-hmm.
And, doTERRA, we thought it was fabulous. My sister, Molly Mesmer from the West Coast, she lives up in Port Angeles, Washington. When she
I
called
recognize
me,
her name. That's your
yes,
sister.
that's my sister. Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's such a small world.
Yes. And she introduced me to this aromatic journey. She had taken a course in miracles. And I had done some work with Landmark, which it's just one of those transformational type courses. When she called me in that August of 2014, I said, well, what the heck? I'll try it. I had been struggling with chronic pain after a horseback riding accident in 2008. When those essential oils hit my life, I started using them like drop after drop after drop. I think they told us to put like 12 drops on our feet, cut my foot up here and I'm dropping. But I tell you what, within a couple of weeks, I noticed I was no longer taking something to sleep, like the Benadryl and Tylenol. I didn't need it. And I wasn't taking Tums anymore. And I wasn't taking Advil like candy for my back pain. What I saw was this great snowball effect. Like I got these aromatics in my life. They made me happy. I exercised more. I was motivated to be more outgoing. Like the frankincense helped me to public speak. And so I didn't stress as much, slept better. My quality of life came up. And so, while you can't really stick your finger on it and say there's one essential oil that did all this, it was just, I wrote in my journal, I'm a journaler. And I remember writing in my journal a couple months later, like in October, going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And it is the first holistic thing that I'd ever done. And I have been a nurse since 1990 and been working in health care and, spent 7 dedicated years in hospice care, helping people, go home and die peacefully, and hundreds of people. And I never knew a thing about any of this. That was pretty miraculous. And my sister and I, we got along well in doTERRA, but then she said, hey, look, this is really complicated. We don't know what we're doing. And she started researching. And at the time in 2014, Aromahead was big. They were the biggest online school. And when she reached out to Andrea Bouget, Andrea was so kind to her. And on the other end of it, she reached out to a couple other schools and they were like, you work with doTERRA? No. You cannot come here. And so Andrea Bouget said, come, you have more to learn and we will love you. So we signed up. Of my sister and I'm more of the, I don't know, I think I'm more of the driven one education wise. I must be, because within a year I had my certificate and, I think it took her, don't tell her, but she'll listen to this. It might have taken her like 2 or 3 years to do that.
Molly. Jeez.
I know. Geez, Molly. I probably didn't. Now I'll have to take that back. But
she'll have to come on and do her own episode so that she can counter what you just said.
she is really taking off. Like she
Oh,
was a slow starter with this. Like we started MoMA Aroma back in 2017 or something. And then she quit it. And the Mo is Molly and the Ma is Marni. But now she has her own company and she's all into it. And I'm all on the wane in the product area. I still have a few things that I make and I still use them. And now I'm going to research them. She's been such an inspiration and my travel buddy. Wow, where do I go from there? So that's how I got into aromatics
okay.
and got all my schooling from Aroma Head. Did the advanced graduate, did those case studies and became an advanced practice with the AIA. But the AIA's been really where I've like taken off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I joined the AIA and at first it wasn't a great experience. Their management company was terrible and NAHA was better value. But then Carol Scheidel from the AIA just really turned things around for me. She answered the phone. She was attentive. And then that conference in Minneapolis was amazing. Amazing. Julie Jones, who used to be the chair of the AIA research committee, and I really love her. She couldn't make it, and life kind of took her out of that and propelled me into the chair of that research committee. And that was catalyst to, wow, okay, so this is all going that way. And then Dr. Joy Bowles, Aromatherapy Journal Club, amazing. But yeah, everything in the past couple of years has all just been head toward research.
Research. So as a nurse, you were actually practicing bedside.
Oh yeah.
But aromatherapy has taken you behind the scenes and into research. Is that about right?
It has. And I have to tell you though, you know, the research came as a result of being a nurse, being at the bedside, wanting to use aromatics at the bedside and being told no over and over again. At my little hospital up here actually I'm in Morgantown. I have two places where I live. But in the northern part of where I live, my little hospital, while they were interested, there was no money. Mm-hmm. They couldn't let me research. They couldn't really let me do anything. And when it came down to it, they were just like, no. I was a pain. But then that hospital lost money, closed, and I ended up here in Morgantown, which is WVU. And it's a magnet hospital. So nurses are encouraged to research. So even working night shift weekends on a med surg floor at Ruby, I still had a manager who got me on the research council. I went to a visiting scholar lecture and met the head of the PhD program. And since I already had my master's, you know, they said, well, you're interested in researching, you're a nurse, aromatics. Why don't you come, you know, and join our PhD program? You know, why don't you apply? And I never, ever, people used to ask me, why don't you just get your PhD? And I'd be like, oh, shut up. You know, who wants to do that? That's just stupid. Never, ever thought. But when, you know, I got into WVU and I was encouraged and then supported to actually create an aromatic study in 2018. I mean, that was an amazing thing. So even pre-PhD, when I knew nothing of research, they supported me and gave me mentors. You know, you go to these conferences and you get all these samples, package of samples, and we take some of it out and some of it we never use. It's true. But I'll never forget one day, and this was in like beginning of 2018, I found a patch by Jody Bagley.
Yes.
I had never even seen an aromatherapy patch. And I opened that and I smiled. I'm like, this is revolutionary. Made these little envelopes, you know, letter size envelopes. I stuck an AIA brochure, made a little, you know, information paper. I stuck 2 aromatherapy patches in each one. And I just had a packet of these and I took them around wherever I was in the hospital. If somebody was a stakeholder. they got an envelope. That's, that's how I was able to find somebody who wanted to actually allow us to do a study. So
that's amazing. I love that it wasn't even on your radar. And yet, when the opportunity presented itself, when the door opened, when the window was flung wide, you said, okay, I can do that.
Well, when my husband said, okay. More importantly, my husband said, okay.
And that's true. As a married couple, I mean, it you have to have that support of your spouse. You have to have that support. Without that, there's no way you can move forward.
No, this is my 4th degree. Okay. So I can remember the uncomfortableness at times when I was in my bachelor's, looking at my husband and going, it's only this much longer, really. I mean, it took me 5 years to get my bachelor's because we had young kids then. And then my master's came because I had such a terrible accident and just never thought I would be able to do anything again in 2008. And so I went back and got that master's online. No, I never thought I'd go for another degree, but WVU has been amazing.
They opened up a new part of you.
This
part that just loves to dig and research and figure things out. And that's beautiful.
And they've created a monster too. And that really, I made it through the first year of PhD, which is statistics 1 and statistics 2. If you live through that, then it's okay for you to go on and do a few other, maybe kinder, gentlers theory, which has been amazing. And I've actually been able to create a theory and that, or, a concept. And to me, that's just fabulous. But in the fall of 2000, to actually be doing this systematic review and realizing the quality of aromatic research I was just getting embarrassed because I had to present this stuff. I had to present it at a PhD journal club. And I also had to present it to my classmates. And I had 4 or 5 classmates. And I had to admit that even though the blinding, all the risk for bias parts of research, randomization, blinding, the procedures, that they could be really good. Like the UK had some grand work, but I didn't even know what the essential oils were. And people could pick whatever they wanted. So we didn't even know which ones really helped. We just knew that they had maybe their standards in a certain country, but they couldn't translate to my country. I couldn't take what they did and do it again. And that kind of broke my heart because I was looking for ideas. I was looking for them to tell me how to research.
Yeah. And we're at a point now where the research is mattering because people do want to use aromatics. And if we don't have the research to back up what we just intuitively know that it works.
Right. We've hit where we can go. And, the NCCIH, or the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, that part of the NIH, or the National Institutes for Health, really sets the standard for this. They put out a big survey for the US every 5 years, and part of it is complementary. And that complementary part queries what they want to know more about. And the one in 2012 had a couple questions about aromatics. But this one in 2017, nope. And what did they key in on? They keyed in on acupressure, they keyed in on chiropractic, they keyed in on yoga, because yoga is coming front and center, and we need to take a leaf out of their book. Mm-hmm. Chinese herbal medicine came up, and so did doctor of naturopathy.
Why do you think that aromatics wasn't mentioned this time when it was in the past?
I know exactly why. It's happened around the world. Happened in the UK and it happened in Australia and it's happening here. Somebody actually paid attention to the quality of the research. In the UK, it didn't pass muster. In Australia, it did not pass muster, and they lost it in all of their health programs.
Wow.
In the UK, they lost it in higher education. At a certain point, it lost favor and they no longer gave a degree. It was no longer part of that university degree that had so much credibility and allowed them to research in a coherent manner. They lost that. The US, while it's very popular among do-it-yourselfers, and it is very popular among nurses as well. And of one, I am one of them. I'm big into healthcare and that caring. The focus of the discipline of nursing is caring. And if we're going to do that, we need modalities like massage, aromatics. They're easy to do at the bedside. You can do them on fragile people. You can take them across many populations. But in the US, somebody took a look at the NCCIH and said, the quality of research is terrible. Look at the systematic reviews. Almost none can come up with a coherent meta-analysis of their data. It's not even an almost. It's none. Some do it, but their margin of error and their, heterogeneity is so high, it doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
When I got together with this group of wonderful people last year, we set out on a journey to write a white paper to bring attention to this, to say, look, we have a wonderful modality, but nobody's going to be able to use it because there's no research to back it up. If we don't improve the quality of our research in some way, and it doesn't have to be a randomized controlled trial, it can be qualitative. It can be tell a story. We have to do it well. We will be marginalized. We started on this journey, and I'm going to cut to what happened during this last meeting in January. Yoga, I keep mentioning yoga because yoga is who we need to take a leaf from their book. They've woken up. And who did it but the Maryland University of Integrative Health, Stephanie Munoz, who is their director of research and academic science. She pushed the effort forward to create the Clarify, which is the reporting guideline for yoga research. So it's a list of things that yoga researchers around the world said, these are the 21 things that should be in any study, whether it's randomized or telling a story or a case study or whatever. This is what should be in there. Stephanie Munoz joined the ARCOT and helped us.
Beautiful. Because that is a problem with aromatic research, because we don't have the ability to do what pharmacists do in their research because of the way aromatics inherently work, right? We smell them. So we can't blind rosemary. You're going to know you're smelling rosemary.
Right.
So yeah. Oh my gosh. Coming up with standards for aromatic research.
Yes. So that's the journey. That is what came out of that systematic review. So we started with the white paper project. It grew into a checklist. People like Jan Tomeno and Marilyn Peppers Citizen and who else on there? Geraldine Resnick and Bethany Younger and Amanda Mae Fitzgerald and Donna Audie and Michelle Cohen, Ragda Abdul Maksud. We're all, Barb Kirkesley, we're all working together and creating this. And we all put our collective minds together and said, well, what do we want to see every time? Well, top of the list was a Latin binomial, for goodness sakes, which you don't always get. We don't get a Latin binomial. You don't get the chemistry of it. You don't get the source of your oil. You don't get anything that would solidify you saying a claim. And the next researcher saying, by that claim, I'm going to take it and look at this. if you can't reproduce it, then you can't take it anywhere. So if I do not know what your procedure was for that person, smelling that oil, how many times a day they smelled it, what kind of oil it was it in a carrier? Maybe I get to the end of a study and I say, I knew what oil with Latin binomial, I know the chemistry, I know how they did it. And they didn't ask their people, do you have a sense of smell? They didn't ask them, had you already loved lavender or do you hate lavender? They hadn't asked their people, are you allergic? Then these are things that mess with our claim of what did what.
Right.
If they say the lavender didn't help them and we don't even ask them whether they hate lavender, then we're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Joy Bowles, her latest book, she says it, if we don't check olfactory function and olfactory bias, then we really don't know what we've done. Why didn't we just give them a pill? If we really think it's the aromatic chemistry, then why are we not querying it? And then you have Dr. Rachel Hers from Brown University and the wonderful paper from 2009, Aromatherapy Factor Fiction, and the Sense of Smell Institute, and aromatology. And aromatology, as distinct from aromatherapy, we ought to be listening to that. Aromatology is about the psyche of aromas. That's what we're into. We really love that part. But if you want to have that, the Sense of Smell Institute said there's 5 standards. And when I read that, and then I heard her at Botanica last year, I was like, well, of course. What do you mean we don't hold our students to that standard?
Right.
And yet we don't. We want to get some standards into the schools.
Mm-hmm.
The foundation. Here's your checklist. This is what goes into your case study. This is what goes into your whatever you do. And then 20 years from now, the quality of research may be what it needs to be. We're in for the long game.
Yeah.
This is a long game.
I love that you have the vision 20 years from now, that you're not trying to fix it for tomorrow. You're trying to fix it for the way down the road.
Right.
That's awesome.
Well, I am trying to fix it for now, though, too. I get to do this dissertation and I get to do the study the way I know a study needs to be done. And so in my intervention protocol, there's a checklist from the ARCOT, the Aromatic Research Quality Appraisal Task Force. They made me a checklist. Check, check, check. Oh, I can't check that olfactory bias because I can't ask them that question. Good. I'm going to explain why I can't do that.
Beautiful.
You can hit everything if you know what the checklist is. When people are doing a study, they tend to get lost in the weeds. The weeds of a study are terrible. You're trying to move all these parts around and you get lost.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, let's help. Did I just kill you there with all
No, not at all. But, I want to make sure that people grasp what it is that you're saying, the importance of the research and the importance of setting up a research project to make sure that you are checking off all the boxes, that I've done everything that I can. And if I can't do it, I'm explaining it because I should be able to take what you've done and reproduce it myself. And if I can't do that, then the research isn't complete.
It is not complete. And it's not going to be anything that you can take and get good funding. And, Tessarian talks about it. I've watched his stuff and he says, Aromatics is just not getting funded.
Right.
Well, there's a reason Aromatics isn't getting funded. We have not made the case that aromatics can be researched in a way that's reliable and valid and reproducible.
Mm-hmm.
That's our job.
Yeah.
It is not the NCCIH's job or the NIH or the NHS or any other acronym. It's up to the aromatic community. When I say a checklist, It is a simple checklist. It has an explanatory document. We want this to be something that translates into every community and country. And when I did get to be interviewed by Ree on the ICANN, there was great response from around the world, from Singapore and from Ireland and from the Cook Islands and from the UK and from Australia. And there's places in the world that are really ramping up their research.
Mm-hmm.
Our job right now, I believe this is the time for it, is that we as a community and possibly through the ICANN and through podcasts like this, we get the message out that there is a beta checklist called the treats, transparent reporting of essential oil and aromatic therapeutic studies.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, a mouthful. That is the treats. And that is the checklist at the moment. It has a score. It is beta. It's been tested locally in a convenience sample, and it came out good. It's been tested by what we would call friendly expert round. It's also a convenience sample of those around the world. And there are at least 12 countries represented in that friendly expert round. And what that entailed was they took this tool, this treats tool, they set it next to a research study, and they checked the boxes time after time. They couldn't believe what they didn't know, that it had looked like a study that would hold water, and yet the holes in it aromatically.
Right.
Because we're not testing for bias and randomized control and all those things. We are simply looking at the aromatic portion.
And where can they get that treats document?
They can email us at info@arcot.org.
Okay.
And it's ARQAT. This is why I love people like you. You're a connector. People like Rhiannon.
Oh my gosh, yes.
She's connecting us in a way through the ICANN and through organizations like the GAP-FOSSE, through organizations like the AIA. And the ARCOT is an organization. It is a corporation. We made it a corporation. It'll be a nonprofit here shortly. We haven't received the paperwork yet, but it's in the works.
Beautiful.
Because it's not just about me or the people in this task force, but it is, hopefully it'll be the connector. Teacher, educators, researchers, reviewers, editors, they can know what to look for. Even myself. Okay, so I did that whole study at WVU. I mean, it had to go through the institutional review board. And I mean, it took me 2 years to do of my life. It did get published, thank goodness, but I had no idea what I was doing. If somebody had said, well, here's the standard, this is tick the boxes, check,
Right.
check, check, check.
Right.
Oh my gosh. It's good to have that. How do you read any research paper?
Yes.
You're looking for the methods and, the findings. But I mean, for most of us, we couldn't tell if they did their statistics right to save our lives.
Right.
Okay. Like I'm on Dr. Joy's Aromatherapy Journal Club because Dr. Joy can. And that is why I attend and continue to attend her Aromatherapy Journal Club. Because she's the only one that I know of that will actually dig into those stats and say, this is bogus, or this could have been done better. And it was from that inspiration, actually, that I began to look at all these studies that I was going through for the systematic review. And, with a systematic review, you start with hundreds, and then you come down to 100, and then you come down to 50, and then you come down to this just little pile of 12 or 15, and you're looking at them with a fine-tooth comb. What I found was just not heartening at all. But this task force came together like that, because when I told,
because we're ready.
20, yeah,
we're ready. Yes.
Yeah.
As a community, we're ready. Yes.
Yeah. There were about 20 on that initial call at the beginning of January in 2021. As time went on, it came down to 13, and right now it's 12. So exciting, Ascension Health, which is in Illinois, I think in Michigan. Ascension Health is amazing. They got aromatics with their nurses, they let them do things like that because they believe in that type of care, the integrative model. Tammy Lyle, she got a hold of this tool from the AIA conference, and she was like, are you kidding me? And she looked at the studies that she had been hanging everything on, and she was like, oh my goodness, we've got to do better.
And it always takes just one person standing up and saying, now is the time, let's go, because more than likely there's hundreds of people out there thinking it.
There are.
They just need the one person who's willing to take the lead. So thank you, Marni.
And the idea was out there. Dr. Joy and I like to say the idea was floating around.
Yep. It just needed a place to land.
It did. And the perfect mix of ingredients sat with me because I hadn't been doing this for ages. I'm so new to aromatics. I mean, I was only a certified aromatherapist in 2016. So I just haven't been doing this very long. And then working on a PhD where you actually have to dig in
and tear it up. Yes.
You must dig in, and then wanting to research and wanting somebody to give me a clear path and not finding the clear path. I just couldn't believe. That's what's happening. And, there's opportunity for speaking coming up, also opportunity for publication. And that's our big goal within the next 6 months, is to publish the journey of the treats, because then that in a peer-reviewed, high-profile journal, open access, we get the word out to the world. Boom. That's what we've got to do.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh. I had no idea who you were. No clue. You're this visionary and you're just changing it up. I love it.
Shoot.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm floored, truly floored. I just think it's amazing what you're doing, because it's going to make aromatherapy viable.
That's the hope. If it can be viable.
Instead of just this fringe thing that you sign up for and get a bunch of oils every month, which is not a bad thing. Like we discussed that at the very beginning. It's a beautiful doorway. It's a beautiful doorway. But then for people to realize there's more to this, go get educated. And then what? You're on the then what part now. So I love this.
I'm on the then what. And I want it to be used in the substance use disorder population, but I got to have evidence. And
yes.
So this first study is in the substance use disorder population, and it should be a good study.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited to see the fruitions of all your labor. I can't wait.
Thank you.
Can't wait. And it will be a treat. Did you see what I did there? It'll be a treat to watch it happen.
Oh, but people like Jessie Hawkins have been so encouraging of this. Yeah. I have to say, she's been amazing. Everyone who needed to be supportive has been there. So it could have been a great idea. It could have been the best idea ever, but not the right time.
Mm-hmm.
It is the right time. You're right.
Right. And with that in mind, and looking 10 years down the road, okay, so treats is revealed to the world. ARCOT is doing everything that it can do behind the scenes. How do you see aromatherapy changing in light of everything that you're doing?
If you look at it just from purely what happens with the funders look at the systematic review of the literature. And usually that stretches about 10, maybe 20 years. The systematic review that can have a meta-analysis, which means that they take the data and they process it together in some way. that's coherent. They have enough information that they can actually put it together and make a bigger picture. That's what funding agencies look at. So then you get your studies funded. You can work with a lot of people and you can get things into avenues that you never could before. Whether or not aromatics has to go that way, I don't know. Quality research tends to catch its own eye, like it'll catch the eye because it's quality. Whether or not we can prove in a randomized controlled trial that this works, that this aroma works, remains to be seen. It just does. We haven't been able to ever do it big enough because we can't get enough funding.
Mm-hmm.
There's where we get stuck. And
Right.
Tisserand will tell you that's where we get stuck.
Maybe treats will help it get unstuck.
It's a conversation that's happening in aromatics and yoga. And why does yoga work? It's as difficult to say as aromatics. And so you get your reporting guideline, you do it the right way over and over and over again, and you'll get your evidence.
I'm imagining that as the scientific people who listen to this podcast are hearing everything that you're saying, that they're probably getting a little bit on fire and maybe even a little bit inspired to move forward and do the things. Because until you hear from someone who's doing it, you feel like you're alone in your thoughts. You feel like you're alone trying to, swim against the stream. I just want to say for the record, what you're doing is super inspiring to the aromatic community, because it's all behind the scenes what you're doing. You're not out front offering classes and selling a brand. You're behind the scenes, you're making it happen. So what you're doing is very inspiring. So I'm curious to know who inspires you.
Oh, well, my sister, Molly. But also, let's see, I don't have a big inspirational figure in front of me, except for Jesus. I'm a real Jesus freak. I really. And if I had to say a ministry right now that I follow a ton is David Wilkerson. But if I look at life, like, you're really inspiring.
Aww.
And you've made me want to do a podcast, Aromatic Research Podcast. Yeah, I'd like to do that. So you inspired me because I thought your podcast was one of the best, funnest.
Thank you so much. That means the world, because I try to make it fun, but I also try to let my guests be real.
You do. I think that's what makes it so fun. They're not afraid to be themselves. I feel like I hear the real person when I listen to your podcast, and that's why I listen.
That's beautiful. So, thank you.
So, and then Rhiannon inspires me a ton. But before that, Jane Buckle. When I read Jane Buckle's book, she's got a grand book. And when Molly and I first started in this stuff, we went to Haiti in 2015. We were not certified. I think we were in AromaHead, but we took our oils to Haiti. And I used Jane Buckle's book, and we brought some relief to these people who were suffering. We used things like peppermint and melaleuca. We diluted them in fractionated coconut oil, and we did what we could. And how inspirational was that? I think Marco Vellucci is changing and moving, and he is coming up on the ICANN in March, and I've signed up for it. It's actually one of the few things I paid for on there, but to listen to him, because he's going to talk about his systematic review, because he did a huge one. I mean, a really big one. And you know what he said? The quality of the aromatics was just terrible. And when I heard him on the at the AIA conference, I was like, hey. And Amanda Mae Fitzgerald said, hey, Marco, did you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's all over the place. And there's others doing this. So I hope through things like the ICANN that we can create a united voice and continue in a united path.
That's beautiful. That's the thing that actually just keeps coming up. We're at a place now where it feels like we're at the edge, and you and Rhiannon and all these other people, we're starting to build this bridge that's going to get to the other side. We're getting to this point now where it's like, we've got to come together as a community. And that's what keeps coming up. We have to come together as a community.
That's our goal, to bring it all together and work together.
Beautiful.
All these beautiful countries doing wonderful research. We need the same reporting.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. So as we close out, I always like to just hand over the floor to my guests to share anything inspiring, anything that's on your heart, anything that's coming up that you're just like, I've got to get this out into the world. This is your chance.
If you had told me 10 years ago that I'd be doing anything that I am doing today, including working in the AIA, understanding the aromatic community. What in the world was that 10 years ago? It's amazing. But I will say that the focus is on the aromatic research. And you've allowed me to share my passion already. There's a lot to do. There's a fabulous article to get published, and that's no small feat. And I'm believing God. He didn't bring us this far, and he'll show us where to publish. Open doors, closed doors, make a way where there doesn't seem to be a way. Allow us to humbly and kindly, if I want to end with anything, that's it. When that Stephanie Munoz came and talked to the task force, I went to the website of the Maryland University Institute of Health, and I read their front page, their mission and their vision. And part of it said that they would act kindly, that they would be supportive and encouraging of all endeavors to create an integrative health climate. And when Stephanie came on our call, that's exactly how she was. And that's exactly what the ARCOT is and needs to be. It's a friendly place where you can ask your questions. It's a friendly organization that will answer and help and support and be a voice of encouragement to everybody who is trying to take this forward. Thanks for letting me finish with that.
Thank you so much, Marni, for coming on to Aromatic Chat, sharing everything that you're doing. Oh, my word. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I love it, and I love you.
Y'all, I had no idea what Marni was doing in the aromatic world. I know this episode was a little longer than usual, but I thought it was important to really give Marni the time she needed to explain her behind-the-scenes role in creating the TREATS system for conducting quality aromatic research. When I was in aromatherapy school, one of the classes required that I conduct a small systematic literature review. My topic was aromatherapy support for periodontal disease. I found through my short research stint that the available research into the efficacy of an essential oil mouth rinse in regards to prevention of periodontal disease was not compelling, and that more scientific trials were needed. Creating the TREATS system, the transparent reporting of essential oil and aromatic therapeutic studies, through the ARCOT, the Aromatic Research Quality Appraisal Task Force, is a tool that can make research happen in the aromatic community. Wow, Marni, I am so thankful that you said yes when West Virginia University invited you to conduct aromatic research. Another thing that Marni briefly mentioned was the support that she received from her husband when she went back to school. Whether or not you're married, anytime you want to take your life to the next level, you need support. Support can come from so many different places. Your significant other, your parents, your kids, and sometimes it comes from someone outside of your situation who can look in with fresh perspective and a different set of glasses to help. What I mean is that we can only see life through our own lens. The lens that was created in our family of origin and through the myriad of life experiences that we go through. It's difficult to take off our lens, our glasses, because we believe that how we view things is part of who we are. A transformational coach walks beside you as you take off those old glasses and replace them with new beliefs and identities that help you see the world in a whole new way. This is your invitation to experience transformation with lemon balm coaching. If you're open to trying on a new pair of glasses, you can schedule your free discovery call at the link in the show notes. Transformational coaching to support you in your journey. Thank you so much for joining me today as I chatted with Marni Reven. If you are interested in helping with her vision and mission at ARCOT, or are interested in what she's doing with the Alliance of International Aromatherapists Research Committee, you can reach out to her at the emails listed in the show notes. Aromatic Chat is produced by Lemon Balm Coaching, holistic transformational coaching for the business of your life. You can find and connect with me, your holistic transformational coach and registered aromatherapist, on the web at lemonbalmcoaching.com. Are you a registered, clinical, or certified aromatherapist? Would you like to be featured on an episode of Aromatic Chat? I've got a link in the show notes for you to reach out and let me know. Just click on that link and that'll get the bottle rolling. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Aromatherapists are some of the most interesting people. Join me every other week as I chat with aromatherapists around the world. I will see you next time with our next episode. Until then, peace, love, and aromatics.